whilst a plate of freshly baked biscuits is definitely a cause for celebration, there was a time when the arrival of a biscuit was the sign of a much more fearful occasion. In Victorian times, funerals were incredibly grand affairs and could cost as much as £50,000 in today's money. By the mid-1800s, it was estimated that a quarter of the money in British banks had been put aside to pay for them. One essential expense was that of the funeral biscuit.
Today we don't associate biscuits with funerals, but in the Victorian period they were an essential element. The funeral biscuits came in three main varieties. Some were what we'd now recognise as ladies' fingers or boudoir biscuits. There are others which are like a slab of thin sponge cake. And then the other kind, particularly from the Yorkshire Dales, was a shortcake which was flavoured with caraway. The first use of the biscuit was actually as an invitation. Instead of just expecting people to turn up, they had to be bidden. And you had a bidder. He went round with a basket with a cloth over the top with the biscuits in, and they would knock on the house door, pass you your biscuit and say, you're bidden to the funeral of whoever it was, lifting at so-and-so, burying at so-and-so.
To protect the fragile biscuits, they were wrapped individually in white paper and sealed with a black wax. They were often printed with traditional imagery and religious verse.
Making funeral biscuits actually took quite a lot of effort, and if you think about working in conditions where you had to sieve the flour to actually break the sugar off a sugar cone and pound it up, if you had to make 100 funeral biscuits, it was quite a tall order. The caraway seeds would have been used for flavouring, and it's possible that originally the seeds symbolised some kind of rebirth.
In comparison to modern shortbread, the recipe produced a very rich biscuit, as it required 10 ounces of butter to every 12 ounces of flour. Once combined into a dough, equal parts were then separated and stamped using a traditional mould.
This is actually a funeral biscuit mould. Moulds would always have been wooden. It was what they had available, and it's stamping the pattern on the top that really makes it a funeral biscuit.
The production of funeral biscuits continued across Britain into the 20th century until 1940, when rationing tightened the belt of this Victorian tradition.